Hello there and welcome to the news tonight here on Rajya Sabha TV this Friday evening. We'll be getting you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Government releases the Prime Minister's Central Asian tour schedule. Modi will leave on a 5-nation tour next week starting with Uzbekistan. India's Socio-Economic and Caste Census 2011 is released. The first paperless exercise says 1 out of 3 families living in villages is landless. Mobile number portability finally becomes a nationwide reality. Mobile subscribers can now retain their mobile phone numbers even after relocating to other states. India's GDP crosses the $2 trillion mark. World Bank says in just 7 years, India has added $1 trillion to its economy. And the Pentagon unveils the new US security strategy, puts China and Russia in the role of aggressors, seeks to deepen partnership with India, Singapore and others. The top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit 5 Central Asian states, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and Turkmenistan for 8 days starting the 6th of July. The External Affairs Ministry came out with the details of the Prime Minister's itinerary today and he will start with Uzbekistan. After his second stop in Kazakhstan, Modi will then go to Ufa in Russia to attend the BRICS and the SCO summit, which is from the 8th to the 10th of July. He's also likely to meet Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif on the sidelines. In fact, on Thursday, Pakistan too did not rule out a possible meeting between the two leaders. Remember, they have not met one-on-one since Sharif's visit during Modi's swearing-in ceremony last year.
Prime Minister would be going to Ufa for BRICS after visiting 2 Central Asian countries. And on his way back from Ufa, he will be visiting 3 other Central Asian countries. Particularly, they are resource-rich countries. There is the potential of a great partnership with India, which can be very critical for providing us energy security in oil and gas.
The schedule of bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the SCO and the BRICS have yet to be finalized, so I do not have anything to give you at the moment.
All right, now the government today released the first socio-economic and caste census, but refrained from releasing the caste-based data. The government said it would use this data to better implement its schemes and programs to help specific socio-economic groups. Here are the details.
The Socio-Economic and Caste Census 2011 released on Friday paints a rather grim picture of rural India. The census data shows that 1 in 3 families living in villages is landless and depends on manual labor for livelihood. The state of education among rural masses is also quite poor. The census was carried out in 640 districts of the country by the Rural Development Ministry, with the data being jointly released on Friday by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and Rural Development Minister Chaudhry Birender Singh. This is the first such data released after 1932.
My team is endeavoring to assign a unique number of each to every household by linking NPR, TIN, Aadhaar, electoral rolls, number, etc. The data must be connected. Development program data serves need to connect, talk, and add value to each other.
The data suggests that the state of education among rural masses is quite poor. 23.52% of rural families have no literate adult over the age of 25. According to the census, of the 24.39 crore households in the country, 17.91 crore live in villages. Of these, 10.69 crore households are considered deprived. The deprivation data revealed that 5.37 crore households in rural areas are landless, deriving a major part of their income from manual labor. As many as 2.3 crore rural families live in one-room houses with kacha walls and roof. 3.86 crore rural families belong to SC/ST categories.
Very important input for all policy makers, both in the central government and the state governments. And I'm sure with the enormity of schemes and their reaches that all governments have, this document will form a basis of helping us to target groups for support.
Jaitley also said that the data reflects the reality of India. However, the government brushed aside the suggestions that it avoided releasing the caste count due to political reasons. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, the Congress party has decided to not let the BJP and NDA government off the hook in the Lalit Gate controversy and hopes to carry it on till the upcoming monsoon session. Some senior leaders, including former Law Minister Hansraj Bhardwaj, have expressed their reservations over this strategy, though the party has advised them to exercise restraint.
With just 2 weeks left for the monsoon session of the parliament to begin, the main opposition party, Congress, seems in no mood to let the Lalit Modi controversy die down. The party reiterated the demand for the resignation of External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje.
हमारी जिद तो कार्रवाई की है। जिस केंद्रीय मंत्री ने नियम और कानूनों का उल्लंघन किया है, क्या उसको हक है मंत्री रहने का?
But with senior leader Hansraj Bhardwaj publicly denouncing the party's strategy on this issue, it seems not everyone within the Congress is on the same page. The party has now issued a strongly worded advisory to the former law minister.
Our only advisory would be that if he has the larger interest of the party, he would talk at the party forums. And these kind of advisories that we have been saying from time to time, it would be useful for the party if such views are expressed in the party fora.
Though the ruling party has so far stood firmly behind its leaders, Congress is planning to keep the issue alive till monsoon session in a bid to embarrass the government on the floor of the House. Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV, Delhi.
One nation, one number. This concept is now a reality with a nationwide mobile number portability being launched today. Private mobile operators like Airtel, Vodafone, Arcom, Idea Cellular and Uninor, as well as the state-run MTNL and BSNL have indicated that they are now prepared. Consumers will now be able to retain their mobile numbers even if they shift to any part of the country. A deadline of 3rd of July had been fixed for the national rollout of the MNP. With the launch, operators are also offering SOPs like letting customers transfer their prepaid balance from one circle to the other as long as they stay within their network and not switch to another operator. In fact, some operators are also offering free incoming on national roaming from the time an MNP request is raised until it is processed. Operators are also expected to reduce tariffs of STD calls as well as national roaming.
ये बहुत ही एक बड़ा कार्यक्रम है जिसके अनुसार कोई भी ग्राहक अपने एक नंबर को सेव करते हुए एक सेवा से दूसरी सेवा में जा सकता है। अगर उसका ट्रांसफर कहीं एक प्रदेश से दूसरे प्रदेश में हो तो पूरे भारतवर्ष में वो अपने नंबर को सेव कर सकता है। इससे ग्राहक मजबूत होंगे, कंज्यूमर empowered होंगे।
All right, out at the top in national story, US's new national military strategy has termed China and Russia as aggressors. Unveiled by the Pentagon on Wednesday, the strategy slammed Chinese claims in the South China Sea as aggressive and inconsistent with international law. This has angered the Chinese government, which termed the report as irrational exaggerations. Moscow also took exception to the strategy, which advises the US military to be prepared to face revisionist states such as Russia. In fact, the strategy also seeks deeper security relationship with India. It says that the US is looking for allies in the Southeast Asian region to maintain regional peace and building capabilities to provide for missile defense, cyber security, maritime security, and disaster relief.
美方报告当中呢，有关无端的渲染中国威胁的言论，表示不满和反对。我们已经多次阐明了在南海岛礁建设问题上的原则立场。我们认为美方呢应该摒弃冷战思维，正确的认识和看待。
All right, for more on this, let's speak to Dr. Rajiv Nayan, who's the Senior Research Associate at the IDSA, joining us in studio this evening. Rajiv, thanks so much for joining us. If you could give us a sense, really, as far as Moscow and US is concerned, is this the worst tension that we're seeing since the Cold War time?
Definitely, there is tension between United States and Russia after the Ukrainian, or you can say the Crimean incident. So this document, which you have just alluded to, is expressing or reflecting what is going on between the two countries. But in this document, I have found United States quite restrained, not only on Russia, but also on China. it has not condemned or threatened China. In fact, it has welcomed rise of China, and it has expressed willingness to engage China. Where it has really just, and you can say just underlined that the aggressive designs of China in Asia Pacific, especially in South China Sea, which you just shown that the Chinese spokesperson appeared quite upset.
Yes.
But other than that, the document is quite restrained, and I would say that it is quite orthodox. You will not find new adversaries in it. It has somehow talked about Russia not abiding by the agreements it had signed, like Helsinki Agreement, Budapest Agreement, or NATO-Russia Foundation Agreement. It has criticized it for not respecting the Charter of United Nations, which is basically for respecting territorial integrity and sovereignty of any country. So this is, I consider it quite mild.
Okay.
This is a public document of United States which it produces or it publishes time to time. It is its policy pronouncements, and obviously if it is in 2015, so it will reflect the situation existing in 2015, relating to military environment or relating to a strategic environment. So I don't read more than that. Otherwise, the document is quite bland, the document is quite broad, and it talks about things which are generally being talked about in other documents. But it is considered relevant because it is national military strategy of United States.
And also Rajiv, it comes also at a time when, when it especially comes to China, it comes at a time when China is now being seen as a new emerging superpower. As far as economy is concerned, it's being seen, as racing ahead, really. Do you think the US is threatened by that? Because that's what the Chinese definitely are saying. It comes at a time, when we have these tit-for-tat, accusations as far as cybersecurity is concerned, as far as snooping is concerned. Maybe that is why also this paper or this report is being seen as so crucial.
No, this is, I would consider it's a very refined response. It has not directly blamed China for doing all. It has delineated all the dangers, all the challenges which the world is facing, and so the United States and its allies, its partners, its friends, all are facing. There is one section in which it has talked about Asian security. I mean, there it is not very direct. It is very indirect. And what we have been listening to or what we have been getting from other documents like Hillary Clinton's pivot to Asia policy or recent rebalancing strategy, and how in this rebalancing strategy, United States is going to partner or ally. It has got some allies, declared allies like Japan, South Korea, or Australia. But there are, and it has got Thailand, or you can say the Philippines. But it has got many partners. New Zealand has come out of this nuclear security umbrella. So it is no longer holding a US nuclear security umbrella. So, but it is concerned about that. So it has expressed concern about different countries living in Asia Pacific. And nowhere United States expresses any aggressive design, but it rattles China.
Yes.
Because it knows that indirectly, actually, United States is trying to bring all these countries together.
Yes.
And this is the prime, I will not say target, but this is the prime concern. And China has to take note of this situation.
All right, Dr. Rajiv Nayan, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
with
you.
Those details. Thank you. We'll have a quick break here, but still ahead, former RAW chief's book triggers a political row. We'll get you details of that in just a bit.
India's first socio-economic census, identifying targets to enhance policy planning. What does it portend? How can it be used? And why has the caste census not been released? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back to the news tonight. Now, in more national stories, the Congress on Friday demanded an apology from Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the 2002 communal violence in Gujarat. The party was reacting to some politically sensitive claims made by the former Research and Analysis Wing Chief A.S. Dulat in a forthcoming book, Kashmir, the Vajpayee Years.
A rare book by a former RAW official generated a lot of political heat in the national capital. Former RAW chief A.S. Dulat's claim of a goof-up in the IC-814 hijack in 1999 in his book Kashmir, the Vajpayee Years had the Congress questioning the BJP's commitment to fighting terrorism.
फैसले लेने में कोई कमजोरी नहीं थी, कोई कमी नहीं थी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं थी.
अवॉइड किया जा सकता था उस घटना को या उसके बाद जब
नहीं अवॉइड किया जा सकता था. जैसे हालात थे कुछ नहीं अवॉइड किया जा सकता था.
See, there is no doubt about the fact that IC-814 was badly mishandled by the Vajpayee government, and that's why the plane went to Dubai and then went to Kandahar. But the moot question which has still not been answered is, did the Indian state or did the then government pay ransom to the Taliban to get the passengers of IC-814 released?
Other opposition parties also criticized claims that the Vajpayee government was in active communication with Hizbul Mujahideen chief Sayyid Salahuddin and even admitted his son to a medical course.
Whatever decision was taken after all party meetings. There was consent and consensus amongst all the political parties of the country then as to how the government should move.
The Congress also trained its guns on Prime Minister Narendra Modi over the claims in the book relating to the 2002 Gujarat riots. Dulat reportedly mentions that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee believed that he lost the 2004 elections because of the riots.
These are all certain new revelations coming to the public domain. Even at that point of time, there were lot of criticisms about external affairs minister accompanying the terrorists to Kandahar and the way the whole crisis was handled.
Referring to the Kandahar incident, Dulat mentions that the hijacking took place on December 24th. The crisis management group didn't take a decision to immobilize the plane when it landed in Amritsar. According to Dulat, there was confusion over handling the incident and no instructions were passed on to the Punjab police. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
India has become a 2 trillion economy. According to the World Bank, India's GDP at present stands at $2.067 trillion. The World Bank data also shows that India's gross national income per person rose to around 1 lakh rupees a year during 2014. Here are the details.
After taking 60 years to reach the $1 trillion mark, India added the next trillion in just 7 years. The Indian economy has almost doubled in size since the financial crisis hit the country in 2008 and has more than quadrupled from the start of this millennium. World Bank report says India crossed the $2 trillion mark in 2014. It stands a little over $2 trillion at present. The report also says that India's gross national income per person has risen to $1,610, which converts to over 1 lakh rupees. However, despite the increase in per capita gross national income, India has remained in the lower middle income category. Meanwhile, China, with a per capita GNI of $7,380, is set to leave the upper middle income category by 2018 to become a high-income country like the US, UK, Germany and Japan. On Thursday, RBI Chief Raghuram Rajan said that the Indian economy is in a recovery phase. He said that India will proceed cautiously to avoid becoming too reliant on overseas capital.
We are committed to a steady expansion in the absolute value of FII participation while ensuring that we don't go overboard and become overly reliant on FIIs for financing in the government bond market or in the corporate bond market.
With a growth rate of 7.4% in last year, India is one of the fastest growing major economies along with China. However, at the assumed rate of growth, it will take another 24 years to break into the high income category of nations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now let's get you more updates from across the country in Nationwide. The Supreme Court has sent a notice to the Kerala government seeking its response on Tamil Nadu's plea to hand over the security of the Mullaperiyar Dam to the CISF. The security of the dam is presently with the Kerala government. The plea also sought that the Kerala government should not be allowed to seek environmental clearance for constructing a new dam. An army jawan and a militant were killed in an encounter near the LOC in Jammu and Kashmir's Uri sector. The army launched an operation following inputs about the presence of 3 to 4 militants in the region. The body of the militant has not been recovered as yet. Rajasthan police has arrested BJP MP Hema Malini's driver after a car accident last night. A child was killed and the minister was injured along with 4 others. The driver has been booked for overspeeding and negligent driving. Over 200 students were detained in Delhi for protests against the appointment of BJP leader Gajendra Chauhan as chairman of Pune's Film and Television Institute of India, or the FTII. Besides students from the institute, student wings from JNU, DU and Delhi Technology University also joined in the protests. The students also demanded that the FTII governing council be reconstituted. Our international news in Greece is bracing up for major rallies ahead of the Sunday's referendum on bailout terms. One of those will be led by Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras. The International Monetary Fund, on the other hand, is warning that Greece will need an extension of loans and a large debt write-off if Greece does not implement economic reforms.
Rival campaigns heating up in Greece in the run-up to the Sunday's bailout referendum. Opinion polls are giving a wafer-thin margin for the yes vote, but on the ground, people look divided and confused. There is, however, still a chance the referendum may be suspended. The Council of State, the top court in Greece, is yet to rule on the legality of Sunday's vote and whether it breaches the constitution.
Είμαι υπέρ του δημοψηφίσματος. Είναι μια κίνηση που κατά τη γνώμη μου προάγει τη δημοκρατία. Θα ρωτηθεί ο λαός να πάρει μια απόφαση. Αυτό είναι καλό.
Δεν υπάρχει μέλλον πια εδώ. Οι προηγούμενοι είπαν κάποια πράγματα, δεν έχουν κάνει τίποτα. Οι επόμενοι δείχνουν έναν ερασιτεχνισμό και πραγματικά με πιάνει σε μια κατάσταση ζαλισμένος. Περπατάω και...
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is assuring people that their problems because of the closed banks will not last long. Pitching for a no vote, Tsipras says he will clinch a fresh deal with creditors 24 hours after the result of Sunday's referendum.
Οι τράπεζες θα ανοίξουν είτε με μια συμφωνία, αν υπερισχύσει το ναι, η οποία δεν θα είναι βιώσιμη, αλλά αν αυτή είναι η επιλογή του ελληνικού λαού, είτε από φόβο, είτε από πίεση, είτε από επιλογή, θα τη σεβαστούμε. Αν υπερισχύσει το όχι, και όσο πιο ισχυρό είναι αυτό το όχι, σας διαβεβαιώνω, την επόμενη μέρα εγώ θα βρίσκομαι στις Βρυξέλλες και θα υπογραφεί συμφωνία.
Ο ελληνικός λαός θα ψηφίσει όχι.
Θέλω να μας κάνετε διευκρίνηση για αυτό που είπατε με το ότι δεν είναι πρέπει να είστε στις ουρές, Υπουργέ. Να το διευκρινίσετε λίγο, γιατί μην παρανοηθεί.
European Union leaders hinted at a Eurozone exit for Greece if the yes vote prevails. European Parliament President Martin Schulz said his faith in Greek government has hit rock bottom. Meanwhile, the IMF is warning that Greece would need not only an extension of the European Union loans and a potentially large debt write-off, but also an extra 50 billion euros over the next 3 years, including 36 billion from its European partners, if economic reforms are not implemented. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now more stories from across the world in Global Buzz. At least 17 Pakistani soldiers were killed when 4 bogies of an army train fell into a canal in the Punjab province. The accident occurred when the bridge it was passing over collapsed partially. 80 passengers were rescued, 5 of whom have been injured. Rescue work is still in progress. Malaysia says it wants a UN-backed criminal tribunal to prosecute suspects who brought down the passenger airline MH17 in eastern Ukraine. The plane heading from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur crashed on the 17th of July last year, killing all 298 passengers on board. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake hit China's northwestern Xinjiang province, killing at least 6 people. Dozens of people were injured while thousands of homes were damaged. The local administration has issued a level 2 emergency response to the quake. The UK will hold an official minute silence today to mourn British tourists killed in a gun massacre on a Tunisian beach last week. The Queen will lead the remembrance with flags being flown at half-mast over Whitehall departments, Buckingham Palace and British embassies across Europe and Asia. And now let's move on to some sporting action and get you Sportsbeat. Indian men's team will face off one of their toughest tests when they take on Belgium in the semi-finals of the Hockey World League in Antwerp today. India faces a formidable side that has enjoyed a slight edge in their recent encounter since the 2011 Champions Challenge final. India earlier defeated Malaysia 3-2 to enter the semi-finals. World champions Netherlands outplayed Australia 5-1 to reach the final of the Hockey World League. They will now take on South Korea in the final tomorrow. Asian Games champions South Korea defeated New Zealand 4-2 via a penalty shootout after their semi-final was tied 1-1 after the regulation time. In tennis, fourth-seeded Stan Wawrinka has sailed into the fourth round of the men's singles in Wimbledon today. He defeated Spain's Verdasco in straight sets. Later in the day, top-seeded Novak Djokovic will also be taking on Britain's Tomic for a fourth-round berth. In the women's singles, top-seeded Serena Williams and fourth-seeded Maria Sharapova will also be in the action in their third-round matches. In the men's doubles, India's Rohan Bopanna and his Romanian partner Florin Mergia reached the third round. They defeated the pair of Bellucci and Duran in a grueling three-setter, with the last two going into tie-breaks. Leander Paes and Daniel Nestor will also take on the pair of Gabashvili and Liu in the second round, while Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis will be playing in the women's doubles second round later today. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night. Have a great weekend.